Lots and lots of issues. Well, the minority continues to boycott Parliament to go and be or solidarize with their colleague James Chachi Kwesing in Parliament, in the courts instead, not in Parliament. The minority is asking questions. Anodon Prayer, who is the chief whip, has been asking questions. And also, we do know that the District Assembly Common Fund has been in arrears for some time now, about 4 quarters or so, and how that is impeding on the work at the local level has come right to the fore. The minority in Parliament has urged the government to make sure that they release arrears due to the District Assembly Common Fund to enable the various metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies to carry out their functions effectively. We'll go into some of the functions of the assemblies, what they use the Common Fund for, but let's get the detail. Helen, what do you have?
Well, it's not looking good. Government has some 4 billion cedis that is owed to the District Assembly Common Fund. And of course, they're coming under intense scrutiny as the minority is demanding payment before the presentation of the mid-year review. And that's going to be happening, before the end of the month?
That's right.
Well, government has to cough up 4 billion cedis, the minority is saying. The indebtedness has grounded operations at the various MMDAs virtually to a halt. Minority Chief Whip Kwame Buja says the deliberate delay in the payment since 2018 is unacceptable, and they will demand payment before engagement with the finance minister's mid-year review, as the finance minister has already collected the 5% allocation.
And you know the 5% allocation is of all public funds, right? The 5% allocation for the District Assembly Common Fund. So it's money that's already there. If you pay your NHIS, 5% of it. If you pay your VAT, 5% of it. For all of that, the bulk, 5% of it is deducted, and that's what becomes the District Assembly Common Fund. So how is it that it's in arrears? Let's go to 2022. Here's what Kwame Agboja said. He said, let me limit myself to only 2022. In appropriation account, the Appropriation Act, 3.4 billion cedis was appropriated for the District Assembly Common Fund. The Ministry of Finance went and released 2.9 billion on paper. That is from 1st January 2022 to the end of December 2022. Then there was the paper releases given to the Common Fund Secretariat, but out of that, only 300 million out of the 2.9 billion cash has been given to the Common Fund Secretariat. So for the whole year of 2022, you do not expect the assemblies to function optimally. And this is appalling, perhaps because we all know how we've been talking about decentralization right from the get-go. The monies come through taxation. You have the absolutely no right to breach that article. We'll check out what's in Article 252 of the 1992 Constitution. That is where the District Assembly Common Fund is drawn from. Well, Article 252 of the 1992 Constitution. Let's check out what's in Article 252 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana that talks about the District Assembly Common Fund. This is a Sunrise Morning Show on 3FM 92.7. William, do you have that? Article 252 of the 1992 Constitution. That's where the District Assembly Common Fund.
Still searching.
Yes, it comes from, and I'm concerned about the fact that these are monies that are deducted upfront as soon as you buy. Do you have that?
Article 10 to what am I reading here?
Chapter 10.
Chapter 10.
Article
I beg your pardon.
252.
Article 252.
Yeah, you have to be relaxed.
I'm drinking my coffee. Chapter 10, Article 252 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana mandates the transfer of at least 5% of total national fiscal revenues to district governments through the District Assembly Common Fund, DACF, which was implemented in 1994.
So that is what it says. Now, where are these monies drawn from? They're drawn from transfer of at least 5% of total fiscal revenues to district governments through the District Assembly Common Fund, 1994. That was when we decided, 1 year after we started this fourth Republican democracy, to say that, look, we are going this direction because we want to decentralize. We want to give more power to the people. and we want the people to own their own development. Literally, this is putting the people at the center, as William was saying. How is it that the basic things that they need, we aren't able to produce or provide for them? Because as part of this 5% District Assembly Common Fund, there's a component that always touches my heart. The 3% for persons living with disability. It always touches my heart. So for every district, when you receive your portion of the 5% of the District Assembly Common Fund, which is your full complement, 3% of whatever you have received is then used for persons living with disability. This is coming on the back of the fact that even feeding grants for children living with disability in the special schools, school for the deaf, school for the blind, school for the this, school for the that, they have not received any payment for feeding right from January up until now. So my concern is the money is there. The money is supposed to have been deducted. Who is keeping it?
So this is the highest form of disrespect to the state, because this directive or this direction or this instruction is coming from the Constitution.
That's right.
And the highest disrespect that anybody can have consciously for the state is to blatantly disrespect the Constitution. And it is only in Ghana, in Africa, if you like, that the minister can do this and nobody will hold him before any committee to challenge him or even ask him to resign. Because see, if we've taken the money and we've not put it where it's supposed to be put,
Right.
that's misapplication of funds.
Agree.
You know, you may not have stolen the money, but there are laws that govern those kinds of decisions. Who gave who the power? Is it Parliament that gave the finance ministry the power to use it in another? Because when it comes to public finance, the little I know suggests to me that it's only Parliament that can give directions as to how our funds are used.
Absolutely.
Even fees and charges.
Taxes
Taxes and all, everything has to come from Parliament. So if that has not been done, then it also goes to the point that this government has done a lot in respect of throwing out policies. But when these policies grow into programs and they are at a point of execution, then we find that the financial component of those policies were not seriously thought through. Because if you did that, we wouldn't find ourselves in all these, soup of problems, debts all over the place. I mean, everywhere you go with this party,
everybody's old.
there are debts. It only tells you that we've not managed ourselves well because economics, as I've said, is just home management. It is nothing more than that.
Right.
And if you are a father, you are a mother, you are a parent, you are a leader in every space, and you are being able to manage your affairs, and as a state, country, nation, we cannot manage our affairs when it comes to the finances, there's nothing that anybody can tell me that we are getting it right. Because before you come into office, you should know. You know, or you ought to have known.
Right.
These two things are very important. You know,
Or you
ought to have known that there will be internal and external challenges that will hit the economy.
Right.
And so when you are spending, you always leave some space, fiscal space, so I can maneuver your way through those challenges. Then you are a good government. Then you are a good financial manager. Then you are a good political leader. Because politics is also getting power and then leading the people to some comfort, some basic, achievement of some basic requirements, needs. Because at the end of the day, food, clothing, shelter are all the people are asking for.
Exactly.
Beyond that, then we look at the comfort. Sometimes I watch TV and you see the way people are holidaying in the West. I'm like, when
will it be at end?
Well, Ghanaian
Even
families
domestic holiday, we can't afford it.
That's the point I'm making. You see, when can we put our families together? Those are the things that we are not asking for. No, we don't want to go there. You mentioned the persons living with disability.
Yeah.
If we are going to ignore such persons, we are going to ignore the aged as per the haircuts and the bond issues.
Right.
We are going to ignore our mothers who are on the association, who are members of the association of suppliers, food suppliers, that they go and live in the open overnight and cook in the open.
4 nights, actually.
4 nights, exactly. If we are overlooking all these things, then what have we gained?
I was going to say, if you recall, when the small digression, I'll bring us back to the point. When the COVID report came out, we saw that monies that were supposed to be for specific uses were used for other things. We hosted Richard Ahiagba of the MPP here, and he sought to explain it that, well, if government wishes to use the monies for other things, they are allowed to do so. And I think we're seeing that trend time without number. Monies that are specified by law, by the Constitution, to go to one particular issue, government will use it for whatever other thing they need to use it for. And that I think has gone unchecked for a very long time, so that NHIL monies will be collected, they don't go to the service providers, they are used for other things. The monies are being collected, all right, but that second layer of management is missing. The monies come, they are used for this, they are used for that. Are we really concentrating? Is government really concentrating?
You know, there are also components of people who want business support in the common fund. There are also people who have educational support benefits in the... Now, a bit of background. We have spoken about Article 252 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, mandated to transfer at least 5% of the total national fiscal revenues to district governments through the District Assembly Common Fund, which was implemented in 1994 by the Constitution. Now, it started in 2008, where the size of these transfers increased to 7.5% of the total national revenues. So on the average in 2004, transfers from the central government accounted for over 80% of the total local revenues. DACF grants are allocated between districts based on a special formula, which is approved by the National Parliament every year. The formula considers various social and economic factors such as the need, the responsiveness, service pressure, and equality in allocation of the DACF funds between districts. For a detailed discussion of district, we would go into that, when we reach the others on the phone line. But for me, at the heart of this conversation is the thinking that the framers of our local governance structure had when they said that they want to bridge that gap between the South and the North. There's always that development that happens in the South, which the North is crying for. All the big offices, in fact, the district assembly offices, the local government offices set up in Accra. It's not set up anywhere, but we're trying to decentralize. All the offices, they are set up in Accra, unless those who are specific to those Northern Development Authority or whatever it is. So if we recognize that there is this, there's this sharp divide and huge space, why would we starve people of funds that they need to run? Because if I'm a district assembly and I cannot have the benefit of IGF because you are now using a third party to collect property rate, which used to be some avenue of getting some money from me. Now you are dividing that money and sharing that money with some other third party, okay? And you are asking for me, for example, to still develop when you have not given me what it is that I need to develop. Then you're handicapping me right from the beginning. We tried to reach out to the Minister of State at the Local Governance Ministry, Mr. Obi Amwa, lawyer Obi Amwa, who is also the MP for Ikuapem South. He won't speak to us, but his response to the production team is that the problem is not from the Ministry of Local Governance. The problem is from the Finance Ministry.
Exactly.
And you listen to Governor Kwame Agboja, who is also the Member of Parliament for Adaklu and also the Chief Whip for the minority side. He mentions the same thing. So it all goes back to Mr. Ken Ofori-Attah's doorstep. Does Mr. Ofori-Attah know that he is sidestepping the law? Does he know that he is breaking the law?
Exactly the point I made.
And if he knows that he is breaking the law, or he does not know that he is breaking the law, has somebody within the government been minded to tell him that, boss, what you are doing is wrong? Because he has a supervisor in the Chief of Staff. So at their review meetings, has anybody paused to tell him, boss, you are getting it wrong? Or is he doing it willingly and pretending not to know that he is getting it wrong? Because people are suffering. Really, people are suffering. You go to the assemblies and as a
There's nothing going on, Johnny. There's nothing going on. And the entire landscape is the same. As William was saying, look anywhere and look everywhere. The situation is bad. To the tune of 4 billion cities. I don't know where government is going to get that money from. And that's why when we criticize ideas such as SkyTrain, lofty ideas such as a national cathedral, when we have so many issues, foundational issues that we haven't sorted out, I think it's preposterous to think that
Since
we need
2018.
certain things that we don't actually need. Since 2018, a very long time, 4 billion cities. Today is Wednesday. Food suppliers are also waiting for the full payment. Otherwise, they say that they'll be setting up camp once again with their families. They'll bring back their cookers and all of that. Government has a lot on its plate, a lot to handle. We're watching this space keenly. Johnny.
I mean, how long can we watch? Because something has to give. We cannot continue to say, oh, we'll watch this space and then what? How long can we watch? How long can we watch?
3FM Sunrise. 3FM Sunrise.
And as always, we invite you to join the conversation. Hashtag is 3FM Sunrise. And you can join us on our Facebook page. Watch us live on your Facebook on 3FM 927. Also on Twitter and Instagram as well. You are free to join us with your thoughts and comments, and we'll share them with the rest of the wonderful world. It's 18 minutes after 80 on 3FM 92.7 Sunrise. We'll take a few messages. When we return from these messages, we'll get some more deeper into the DACF conversation. We want to understand if the finance ministry will speak to us. The local governance ministry has not spoken to us. They have told us on the sidelines that, look, the problem is not from us. The problem is from the finance ministry, because as far as we know, the monies are collected and given to the finance ministry. It is the finance ministry's job to do as Parliament has agreed and said, to do as the Constitution in Article 252 has mandated. It is the finance ministry's job to ensure that people are not coming up to complain. It is the finance ministry's job to ensure that there's equity in the distribution of state funds. It is the finance ministry's job to ensure that we are managing our resources such that we don't overspend. It is the finance ministry's job to ensure that we are not wasting. How is the finance ministry itself faring? When we return from the break, we'll get into that. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I've got Bell back and I won't let go.
My name is Nanama McBrown. Many people think I get what I want anytime because I am popular. No, that is not true. It is because me and Kasano, I like the best. And when I find it, I stick to it. I have found Bell Pack Tea Roll and I'm stuck with it. It is soft but not weak, strong but not hard. It is just perfect. Bell Pack Tea Roll is smooth and gentle on the skin. Same as Bell Pack Kitchen Towel. It cleans in one wipe. You can soak, squeeze, and clean again. One Bell Pack Kitchen Towel lasts longer and saves you money. It's time you switch to Bell Pack today and experience the perfect paper tissue. Say your pocket tissue, table napkins, tea roll, and a kitchen towel. Paper chow. Bell Pack is simply the best. Bell Pack, just perfect.
To be a Bell Pack distributor, call 055-11-44400. Another quality product from Bell Aqua.
It feels so good like Bell Pack.
Hello? Yeah, is it true that your Adansia 10 Dubai trip on chartered Emirates flight is sold out?
Yeah, you heard right. All 250 seats to Dubai on 10th August are fully booked, but all hope is not lost. There are a few more seats on Emirates for 13th and 15th August departing to Dubai, with the rates starting at only $1,650.
Great. I can't miss out on this fun trip. Are there any other combo trips?
Yes, we have few seats available on below exciting combo trips. Nairobi and Dubai with Doreen Ando, Kigali and Dubai with George Quay, South Africa, Victoria Falls and Livingstone with Lexus Bill, Singapore, Bali and Malaysia cruise with Kwame Dazi.
Wait, how do I book now?
Just send hi to the WhatsApp number 0593-857-002 or call 0556-310-404 or visit AdansiTravels.com. All bookings from now till 25th July will get free pass to Adansi at 10 Gala Dinner in Accra.
Awesome.
It's a vibe.
Usika semen koyana. Quick credit sia say. Sika pe ennafom. Intina yabasa ye bechecha wo yam bosia bon cheshe ho. Wutumi bobosia edifia suya ye fee 1,500 Ghana cedis. Edeko. Na nia wo hia ne wo national ID card. Wo hia se wo betu susu. Wo hia awowa. Yen jisike bia nto ho. Wo nsanso hia se. Wo ne yen bebue futuo bia. Quick credit wo homao. Say ye dwana wo pese wudi. Ana wo pese wo she ejuma for frase. Ana say ye school fees. Ana po eyeye. Wo sumi ejuma ye phone so ye wo bi mamo. Nemom kai say ye mobosia wo internet so. Afen so on mantika krobia batan. Bank of Ghana and sa wo dwumedie yi mu. Enti tutumri kana freyen wo 0302 200 390. Ana 0596 920 833. Quick credits. London made simple. Kai said dwumedie yi nhyehyɛ kakra wo ho.
Passengers at Nebasisia.
Driver, you can't do this in London.
Oh, 1 minute, why?
Shell,
Driver, what's all this about?
Oh, madam, help me say thank you to Shell. Because I'm a member of the Shell Club, I get loyalty points every time I buy fuels that I use to redeem gifts I love. Third-party insurance for my car, free medical insurance, and many more. Shell day my side. In fact, when I see another Shell station, I will hug everyone there.
Hey, driver, what do you fire kwanza?
Hey, English, madam.
Enjoy numerous benefits when you buy fuel from Shell. Get loyalty points to claim third-party car insurance, family medical cover, provisions, and many more for free. Driver, Shell day your side. Go well.
Every minute, every hour, every day, there is so much to talk about. From local news to international news, sports, entertainment, and business. Join me, Alfred Okanse, and the news team every weekday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Hot Edition. Be my guest as I bring to you factual, up-to-date news on happenings in our country, the West African sub-region, Africa, and the rest of the world. Hot Edition. Hot, accurate, authentic. Your week is never complete without us. Make a date with me on 3FM 92.7. Your urban lifestyle radio.
Ghana, brace yourselves for another electrifying season of Ghana's most beautiful. The chosen ones prepare to embark on a transformational adventure. Our esteemed panel of judges, industry experts, and cultural icons will be present every step of the way to help these extraordinary women define their future. The stage is set for an unforgettable season filled with enchantment, passion, and the celebration of Ghanaian culture. So mark your calendars and join the live show this and every Sunday at 8 p.m. from July 16 here on TV3.
From the Victoria Falls of Zimbabwe, the Table Mountains of South Africa, the pyramids of Egypt, the enchanting landscape of Zanzibar, to the breathtaking view on top of Mountain Kilimanjaro, we say
Karibu,
Sendezua,
Ikabo,
Akwaba. Come with me on an enlightening journey through Africa on Beats Africa on 3FM 92.7. Together, let's uncover the hidden secrets of our beautiful continent, what makes us diverse, unique, and a major stakeholder to global development. I'm Miriam. Join me and my exciting guest on Beats Africa every Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. on 3FM 92.7.
Morocco, we don't know what is yam. When I came here, I was like, this is yam. I was like, what is this?
Kobas is in Suriname. Link up from around the world via Facebook at 3FM 92.7 or 3news.com. Beats Africa on 3FM 92.7 with me, Miriam. Sundays 3 to 5 p.m. on 3FM 92.7. An absolute thrilling African experience.
Radio Development Show Host of the Year 2016-2017.
And the winner is John Hughes. Check.
Hi, my name is Johnny Hughes, your community rights advocate, and I'm still on the quest to bring smiles into your communities with Community Connect on 3FM 92.7. Join me this and every Friday morning at 9 a.m. right here on 3FM, and together we will solve the problems bothering your communities.
I know your program is a program that always get a result. Myself, I'm a witness to that.
What can we do to help your community today in terms of education, health, sanitation, security, and all the issues in between from your community's perspective? Tune in to Community Connect every Friday morning at 9 a.m. as we get interactive live on radio and on Twitter at 3FM 927 and on Facebook at 3FM 92.7. Community Connect, helping solve your community problems.
3FM Sunrise. 3FM Sunrise.
It's Mr. Drew.
Highly spirited.
I can thank you very much indeed. It's the Sunrise Morning Show on 3FM 92.7. Earlier before the break, we were talking about the delay in the release of the District Assembly Common Fund, which we say or agree has impeded on development around the local level. Joined on the phone line now is Bismarck Basie Nkum, is a former NALAG president, MC DC for Gomoa West as well. Joining us now. Good morning, Chief, and thank you very much for your time.
Good morning, and thank you to you and your listeners.
Are you able to confirm if the District Assembly Common Fund has indeed not been released for 4 quarters?
That is not the information available to me.
What is the information available to you?
What I do know is that we have received up to the last quarter of 2022. And if you look at the Constitution, the amount due for each quarter is paid in the next quarter. So, for example, the last quarter of 2022 was paid in the first quarter of 2023. That is between January up to March. And so realistically, if you ask me, I will say that it is only the first quarter of 2023 that is in arrears, which we expect to receive.
Is this the story of all the 261 districts across the country, or this is peculiar to your Gomoa district?
What I do know is that when Common Fund is released, all districts get paid simultaneously. So, or at the same time. So I cannot tell if any district hasn't received up to the end of last quarter of 2022, which was paid in first quarter of 2023.
I am sure that as former president of NALAG, you still have ties with other DCs and on and on and on. What are some of the frustrations they have been sharing with you regarding what the delay in the payment of District Assembly Common Fund has on their work in the various districts and municipalities?
Yes, so because we are used to the dictates of the Constitution, the fact that the amount due in each quarter is paid in the subsequent quarter, I have not received complaints from MMDCs as to whether they are having difficulties, because this is what we are used to. So, for example, the common fund due in first quarter, that is January, February, March, we're expecting it to be paid in April, May, and June, and we are just about in the middle of July. So, really, if it has delayed, I should say that it has delayed by about 18 days. And as you would know, common fund is not the only source of income available to the district assemblies. And we have toll rates that we collect, we have permits, we have operating permits, and all that, a lot of them. And aside that, we also don't necessarily operate on cash basis. So, for example, if you have an expectation of a common fund in the next 3 months, you can award contracts with the expectation that you will receive the funds and be able to pay your bills when they're due. So really, I am much comfortable within my district. I don't speak for all others, but I think I am much comfortable.
Do I get the sense from you that the questions about the delay in the payment of the District Assembly Common Fund is crying wolf and that there's no cause for alarm?
Honestly, when I was called this morning, I was surprised because I am on the MMDC platform nationwide. I am also on the Central Regional platform. That discussion has not come up. So I don't know from which quarters this is coming from.
Governor Kwame Agboja is the minority chief whip in Parliament, and he raised these concerns that you need to pay the MMDCs, I mean, not you, but your government needs to pay the MMDCs in order for development to happen at the local level, because a lack of that is hindering development locally. That's where this is coming from.
Okay, so I don't know where he has his information. Obviously, he's in Parliament and he has some documents available to him. But practically, I am on the field and I can say to you on authority that the only outstanding common fund to be received is that of the first quarter of 2023. Obviously, MPs also do receive common fund. Maybe if he hasn't received his common fund for the past 4 quarters, that is a different thing altogether. You know, the MPs common fund is not paid together with the District Assembly common fund. So
that's right.
If the MPs common fund is in arrears for 4 quarters, I cannot speak to it. But as far as I am concerned, the District Assembly's common fund is in arrears for just 1 quarter. That is first quarter of the year 2023.
I do know that for the MP's common fund, you still have some work to do around it when it arrives, so that the MP will have to make a proposal as to what they want to use the monies for, and then you and the Assembly would have to then, work together to make sure that is done, unless that's not the case. Is that the case?
That is also the case, and that is why I am equally surprised, because I am aware, for example, that the MP in my district, which is my constituency, also assessed his common fund from my office, and this common fund is the common fund for the last quarter of 2022, which he assessed in the month of April this year.
So there's a story on 3news.com where the minority chief whip Kwame Agboja has criticized the government for the inability to release the funds to the various district assemblies to enable them perform their functions. Mr. Agboja indicated that the lack of funds is creating inefficiencies and challenges for the assemblies to provide the needed development in their districts. To that end, he is demanding the payment of 4 billion Ghana cedis owed to the DSAF before the presentation of the mid-year budget review. The Adaklu lawmaker told our parliamentary correspondent Komla Kluche in an interview yesterday that the inability to pay and release the monies through tax revenues as required by law to the Common Fund Administration for onward distribution to the district assemblies in the country is creating all these problems. And it says part of that money, which is a tax revenue, is 5%, which is supposed to be distributed equally to the number of district assemblies in the country. However, since 2018, government continued to default in prompt releases of money that has already been collected. Is that the true narrative?
But I think in this scenario, the best person to speak to will be the administrator of Common Fund. So she will receive from the Ministry of Finance, which is responsible for revenue management. But as far as I am concerned, I have received my Common Fund, and I know for sure that a lot of the assemblies have received their Common Fund up to the last quarter of 2022, which was paid in first quarter of 2023. As to how she was able to pay it, whether she has received her releases from Ministry of Finance, I cannot tell. But I can say on authority that for the district assemblies, we have been paid up to the last quarter of 2022, which was paid in first quarter of 2023, and that is constitutional. When you read the Constitution regarding the releases of Common Fund, they are paid, when the amount is due, they are paid within the subsequent quarter. And as you will know, the quarter is made up of 3 months. So the amount due in first quarter, which is January up to March, is supposed to be paid between April, May, and June. So far, that is the only one that hasn't been paid.
If I hear Basi Income very well, who is the DC for Gomoa West, this will be the first time that a delay in the payment of the Common Fund has occurred. Is that the case?
It has occurred since 1992. And in fact, there are times that they were even worse. There are times that they were not paid even after 2 quarters.
So the 2018 date that Kwame Agboja refers to is correct, is it not? That there were delays. We've been in default with delay in paying the Common Fund to the recipients when the time is due. Is that correct?
Well, I wouldn't say that he is wrong, but what I can confirm is that for the period that he referenced, we have received the Common Fund relating to those particular periods. And I am also saying that for the payment of Common Fund since 1992, it has never been paid on time. It has delayed for a day or two. And that is a fact which I'm sure is available to him.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. There are components of persons living with disability who are supposed to benefit from this Common Fund. When the delay happens, how do they cope? Do you know?
Yes, so the money meant for persons living with disability is not meant just for us to give them as their daily pocket money. It is meant to equip them, to enable them undertake activities that generate income for them. So that is what I'm saying. If you are a manager of a district assembly, if you are the district chief executive of a district assembly, or if you are an MP in your constituency, and you have an idea as to how much accrues to you on quarterly basis, nothing prevents you from pre-financing it in other means before you receive your Common Fund. That is why we are managers. So in Gomoa West, for example, in the past 2 months, I've been distributing deep freezers, fridges, sewing machines to persons living with disability who have applied for this kind of equipment to enable them work to generate income. As I speak to you, we have received other batch that we are working on, and we know for sure that the monies will be paid. And so we are not afraid to pre-finance it.
So tell me, how do you pre-finance it? Because Gomoa West may be a huge district, but what about the small districts whose reach on IGF may not be as huge as yours? How do they go about the pre-financing?
Yes, it is the same, Johnny. It is the same. You see, you need not necessarily to have cash taken down before you can finance your activities. That is why you are required to do cash flow projections, having in mind the period past what you have been receiving on quarterly averagely. So you know that this is money due you, which will certainly be paid. So can you pre-finance it by way of engaging contractors, by way of engaging suppliers to supply it whilst they wait for their money? It's just like awarding a contract. Normally, when we award a common fund project, we don't have the money sitting in account, but we project to know that between the first month and the 6th month, this will be the cash flow coming from common fund. So when we are awarding contracts that is funded from common fund, we know the contractor can be paid within 6 months. So contractors are not afraid to work from day one, knowing that their money will certainly be paid. So we pre-finance it by engaging suppliers, speak to suppliers who understand us, by engaging contractors, speak to contractors who understand us. As I speak to you, Gomwa West is building a 3-unit classroom block at Apia, Chrome Debiso.
Okay.
It is a common fund project. We haven't received it, but the contractor understands that the money will come and he will be paid. So we are not sitting idle.
Just a matter of curiosity, does this 3-classroom block have access for persons living with disability?
Exactly. In fact, what we are doing is a model classroom block. The first classroom that is expected to have tiles in it, that is expected to have ceiling.
I see.
Then it will also have fans in it. So it's a first of its kind that we are putting up even in the district.
No be small development they do for them.
I tell you, John, you should come to Gomwa West. Even though we are not well developed, our roads are bad, we are still talking about it, but I think out of the meager resources of the nation and the portion allocated to us, we have managed it well.
Now, you do know that in terms of property rates, which is also one of the avenues of revenue generation for the assemblies, you do not have 100% control of the revenues anymore because the GRA is helping you to collect now. And I've always wondered how your revenue inspectors and all those people who used to collect property rates on your behalf are faring now that the GRA is in full force collecting it, unless I'm wrong. But the GRA takes some chunk of it with the Ministry of Finance. That means that your projections, which you have had in the past, and the development that could have happened because you had access to all those monies may be slowed down or reduced. What do you say?
So that is a possibility. But again, Act 936 also permits local authorities to grant third parties access to collect our revenues on our behalf. And the law permits between 10 to 30%. And GRA is collecting on our behalf and will only keep 30%. 70% will come to us. So for those assemblies who were also contracting third parties to collect the property rate on their behalf, they don't lose anything. What I rather see is that GRA, with their level of training, should rather be able to increase revenue collection, and that 70% should yield more than what you were collecting before, except to say that they have not started this in all the districts. So yes, revenue collection as far as property rate is concerned, it's a bit low, or I can say very low in some districts.
And in the meantime, what will your revenue inspectors be doing? Because if you had monies sitting there, I'm not sure that we'll be complaining about delay in DACF. But so what do your revenue collectors do?
So smart thinking. We have other unexplored sources of revenue. So when these things happen, we have redeployed some of them to collect. For example, in Gomwa West, we had quarry sites where we're having difficulties getting men to supervise how many trips go out of those sites on daily basis. So we have redeployed some of those revenue collectors in those areas, which is currently helping us. So it's all about management. It's all about leadership. You have the resources. Will you let them sit idle? What will you do? Will you let them go home? No. So these are the things that we are doing. And as I said before, there are a lot of other sources of income available to the assembly that we still need men to be collecting on our behalf. And in some cases, because we don't have enough personnel. That is why we contract even third parties to be collecting these things on our behalf.
So I want to understand you that you don't have. Is it a case that you did not have enough personnel, which is why the GRA had to come in, or you had personnel but you had to send them elsewhere so that the GRA could focus on property rates, or that you could have done all the work by yourself, but the powers from above said bring GRA in? I want to understand what exactly happened.
I think in terms of the property rate collection, there was a study that was made. I think in the Americans and European countries, property rate forms about 5% of the GDP. On the African continent, average 1.5% of GDP. In fact, in the Gambia and in Ivory Coast, property rate forms 1% of GDP. Those very close to us. In Ghana, we, the MMDAs, have been collecting it, and it forms less than 0.05% of our GDP. So there was this thought that GRA has capacity already. They are in charge of revenue collection, and that with their technology, they should be able to aid the assemblies to collect the property rate and maximize it to increase the portion of property rate to GDP. It's a new thing that has been brought on board. It is my hope that the technology and the skills of GRA will enable us to do 1% or 2% of GDP. And when that is done, it means the assemblies are even expecting to rake in more revenue than we're getting before.
So what are you saying? Really, you did not answer my question. Is it a question of lack of capacity on the side of the assemblies, or it was power from above that says, let's go this route, or you could have either, trained your people, supervise them well to say, go and collect for me, because they have done this since the districts were created. They have done this since forever. So means that there was a problem. I want to understand where the problem came from, which is why GRA had to come in.
Yes, so what I'm saying is this, that there are managers of the economy, and they are looking at all aspects of revenue mobilization. And managers have seen that over the period, we are lagging behind in terms of property rates nationwide. So there should be an introduction of a new idea. This introduction of a new idea is also being done in collaboration with the assemblies. And so we hope to see results. But what I have told you before is that, yes, lack of capacity, you can say so. Technology introduction, we can say so, because GRA has been the mother institution mobilizing revenue. And I can say in terms of capacity to collect revenue in the country, they are far above all the MMDAs. So I don't see any fault. I don't see any problem. We will learn together with them. And as I have said, even with our previous capacity, we were still relying on third parties for collection of property rates. Third parties who probably didn't have the technical know-how compared to that of GRA.
So you see nothing wrong with this arrangement?
So far, no. I expect to see more results. But why not? If we operate this system for a year or two and we think it is giving us a negative result, then we can change it. It is when we are afraid of change, then we still would want to stick to the old system of doing things, thinking that is always better.
Bismarck Basi Inkum, former NALAC president, Goma West, DC. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you very much, Johnny. Thank you for having me.
Grateful.
Sunrise. 3 FM Sunrise. 3 FM Sunrise.
Guys, it will be.
That's a very rosy picture printed out there. I mean, because everything I heard.
Don't be like that.
I live in a district myself.
Don't be like that.
And I don't know, but I when we from after the show we have to
go to the place.
All the 261.
Then we can see it.
Yeah, because I mean the picture, he admits that there are problems, but I think the picture was a bit too rosy for me.
Paints the picture nicely.
Yes. I mean, the colors were too bright.
There were summary colors.
The kaleidoscope was
too colorful, too vibrant. But I did pick up something interesting. He talks about property rates in places like the Gambia accounting for 1% of the GDP. I thought that was quite interesting. We've talked about property rates and all of that, to death. Others are doing it, and we are doing less than 0.05%. That's the biggest takeaway for me.
You know the problem with our property rates, business operation permit, water bills, electricity bill collection. There's too much lax in trying to collect monies from people who owe. I know somebody who was dodging a pothole, got onto a pavement, broke down a traffic light, chased urban roads on, chased them for God knows how long. He wanted to replace the thing.
Willingly?
Yes. He chased it for God knows how long. Then at some point he gave up. He put a long missive on Facebook and he gave up. I know this person personally. He broke it because he was avoiding a pothole. There was a construction ongoing, big pothole. So he was avoiding it. The car went up there, bam, hit it. Said, I want to replace it. And the opportunity never was given to him to replace it. Not because the office was non-existent. Not because there weren't people who were clothed with the power to say, okay, this is the estimate, this is how much it will cost, take it, pay the money through banker's draft, whatever it is, show us the receipt, we'll collect it and fix it so you can. It was never done. It go be. You know how property rate is? Sometimes they bring you your property rate and it's two months to the close of the year. A property rate for the year. They bring it to you and it's 2 months to the close of the year. Meanwhile, this is supposed to have brought to you at the beginning of the year so that you raise, like, you can pay. Because you're supposed to pay monthly. But then for some reason, they put it together in bulk and they bring it to you sometimes 2 months to the close of the year.
Merry Christmas.
And there are a lot of places where people have never even seen
the property rate bill before.
They haven't even seen it before.
That green thing.
Massa, plenty.
It's news. What you're saying this morning is news to someone.
Check, Massa. Even here, how many of us have seen it? Me, I haven't seen it before.
Oh, me, I've seen it before.
You see, everything per the law that will make this country run properly, we have it. Everything. We are just not applying anything. These monies that we are talking about delays, whether it's MP's Common Fund or the District Assembly Common Fund, we have had stories upon stories about coming down to the persons living with disability and the challenges they have in receiving these monies. Come to the districts. What is happening there? Nothing is happening.
Anyway,
the functions that they have, if you look at the Local Government Act, is it 936?
936.
If you look at the functions of the District Assembly and the things that they're supposed to do, and the money that you're supposed to generate, and the finance ministry's allocations to them, if they had all that, we will see some improvement in the district. What happened to that one district, one constituency, $1 million?
Right.
Go and look at the roads in the district. Look at the state of our education facilities in the district. Go and see how cattle and other animals are just roaming around there. They don't have people.
In fact, even behind the presidency.
They go to the office there and they don't have the equipment, they don't have logistics to work. So they stay in 8 to 5 and some 8 to 3 and they go home. And so if the issues are there, well, maybe his constituency, his districts, they are okay.
They said they are model. They are building a model.
A model.
Yeah. Well, my guest in studio is as a former head of department, senior lecturer also at the University of Development Studies. He taught as a teacher with the Ghana Education Service. He holds a PhD Rural Livelihoods and also an MPhil Agric Extension, BSc Agric Technology. He is a teacher, as I mentioned earlier. Belongs to the NDC. He subscribed to the Islamic religion. He is the member of parliament for the Kumbungu constituency in the Northern region. Honorable Hamza Adam is in studio in flesh and blood. Good morning. Sorry. How you doing? Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good morning to you.
Yes. Because your area is rural livelihoods, let's begin from the DCAF conversation. You're also a member of parliament, so MP's Common Fund and all of that will come to play. What are your own views about the going conversation? District Assembly Common Funds, the delays and matters arising.
All right. Good morning, and then thank you for the question. Let me also extend my greetings to the good people of Kumbungo. The District Common Fund matter is been contentious. I mean, very often, because it is not just today that the battle over payment is starting. If you look at, but the present time seems to be the worst, in the sense that I was surprised that the DCE, definitely, it is expected anyway, because he is a DCE, he's working for the government, so whatever it is, he has to ensure that he's
working
a very,
for all of us.
Yeah, he's working for all of us, but appointed by the government, isn't it? All right, he can get fired the next morning, you know. So I'm not too surprised that he was trying to paint a very bright picture. In reality, if you get to the assembly, they are really, really struggling. They have been working for a long time without payment of the Disassembly Common Fund. If you interact with some of the assembled workers, you will really sympathize with them. So it is on record that they have not been paid for some time now. I'm surprised he's talking about arrears for 2 quarters. If he talks about MP's share of the common fund, which is just the 5%,
right?
For that one, he's on point. The government is owing us 2 quarters. But if you go to the share of the District Assembly, which is about the 95%, I can assure you that it is not less than 3 quarters on arrears. It is not less than 3 quarters on arrears. And so what is even worrying is that these monies, they send it to them in a very, disorganized form. In a sense,
how do you mean?
What I mean is that sometimes they'll give them 1.5 quarters. Something that is supposed to go on tranches like a quarter, 2 quarters. Sometimes they'll give them 1.5 quarters.
Okay.
And even now they are not able to track, because the amount of money that they are expecting, sometimes the money comes and they cannot understand the deductions that they report on their money.
So they get 1.5 quarter,
1.5 quarter, and the expected amount.
And then the next one they get maybe less than
1 quarter. You know, there's no consistency.
So it's
distortions, and so it's a problem. So the reality is that they are not releasing the money as expected. The people, the District Assembly is being suffocated. They are struggling. They don't have the money. So then you ask yourself, because there are some of the districts that they don't have the IGF, or the IGF is very, very, very low. For example, in my district, like Kumbungo, for example, they have very limited sources of getting revenue,
because most of the people are farmers.
Farmers,
so small-scale farmers.
It's difficult. So about over 90% of the work they do is from the common fund. And so if the common fund is not coming, how are they going to work? So it's an issue that we have to, and I don't know, we always want to run away from, from the right information. It is very clear. You, the person sitting there, the heat is warming you. But for the fear of coming public to say what is right, and then for people to also support with their voices for the monies to be released for you to work, you are saying something else, something different.
I see.
So I think that these monies are collected. I mean, it's just not something that we know has to come from somewhere. So if the monies are collected, why are they not releasing them timely? So government must look at it. The local government ministry must look at it again. Committee of local government, I mean, they battle with the issues all the time, and then they keep talking about it, raising the issues. And then when they invite the local government minister, they keep dancing around the issues. It is time for everyone to know that the heart of the District Assembly is the common fund. So if the common fund is not released on timely basis, it seriously affects the work of the assembly. Okay. Particularly, you raise the issue of the disability.
That's right.
No, 2% of the District Assembly common fund goes to the people, disabled people.
Right. Persons living with disability. They don't like to be called disabled. Okay.
All right. You are, thank you for correcting me. Persons living with disability.
Yeah.
And such people, the money that they get is supposed to be used to take care of, to give them training so that they can be independent, to support their health expenses, and then provide general welfare for people, because we know they are living in special conditions that they really need support. So if the funds are not released, how are those people in particular going to get funds to be able to survive? So it is not just about development. There are a lot of components which are critical that the money or the funds must necessarily be released to take care of to manage affairs of the Assembly.
Hamza Adam, how long have you been in Parliament?
Oh, I'm a baby in Parliament.
Oh, okay, you're a backbencher.
Just a backbencher, just about 2.5 years. So I'm a first termer, okay, a backbencher.
What has it been like for you?
Parliament is a very interesting place. To be honest, if you get into Parliament, if you are not careful, you get frustrated, especially if you are used to working in a very formal institution.
Right.
So somebody like me from academia, where rules are very strict. You operate independently and all that. You speak your mind and all that. When you get to Parliament, you have to adjust.
Adjust to what?
You have to adjust with your thoughts. With your time. You have to adjust with your orientation, your relations, everything. You have to look at it. Because it is a different, to put it, profession altogether, in my view.
Right.
It's not a straight jacket thing as you perceive it from outside. And so you come in, sometimes it will surprise you to realize that sometimes you have very good ideas to bring on board. For example, you've written a statement to raise very critical national issues.
Right.
But you would be surprised that because you are coming from the back, when you have a number of statements, senior statements are going to be considered before
the junior statements.
You don't regularly catch the eye of the speaker. You have to be very aggressive,
because there are senior statements.
Yes.
Okay.
Before you will have the opportunity to catch.
But why don't you share those statements with the seniors, so that they can catch the eye of the
No, the fact is that you are representing a constituency.
Or you want them in your name.
Yeah, and so it has to be done in your name, especially sometimes some of the issues are constituency specific.
Okay.
And so if you probably have to channel it through your seniors, your constituents, especially your contenders, may think that he cannot even read statement, so he has to give it to Mr. A or Mr. B to do. So some of these things happen. I have been fortunately, because of my background as a UN planner, I've been given leadership position because I'm a deputy ranking member on committee. Committee for Environment, Science and Technology. I mean, because of my background. I mean, because whether we like it or not, I mean, we need knowledge-based individuals to fill in the what do you call it, in the committees, because some of the issues are so technical that you need people to be able to provide support. And so that is what is happening. And you see, sometimes Parliament, you are told that your next day's program will start at 10 o'clock. You'll be surprised that a 10 o'clock program will eventually start around 1 p.m., 12 p.m. But of course, when they come, they will have some explanation, because they will say maybe an emergency has arisen, and then they have to look at it and all that. So it's really sometimes very difficult to adjust.
I see. Oh no, but I had a quick question. You talk about adjusting, in the House of Parliament. You mentioned a number of things. Do you ever find that you're having to adjust your ethics, your own personal innate convictions? Is that something that happens once you enter Parliament?
I will say no, because there are certain principles. There are certain principles that you hold, and then that life principles that you hold that you think that you cannot, especially things that have to do with your credibility, you probably want to hold on to them. When I say adjusting, means that you are in, you have to relate with people from the other side. Sometimes you belong to a party. You belong to a particular party. Then there are times that you have to, find a way of lobbying from the other side if you need to get certain development to occur in your constituency. Otherwise, you sit there, especially when your party is not in power, and you would not be able to help yourself. And when you go to committee at the committee level, when we are discussing policy issues, there are times you have to find a middle ground. Because you have to, insist that this is how things should look like. This is supposed to be the best. But there may be some other arguments. Supposedly superior, that you have to come and adjust to agree on the middle ground for issues to occur. So,
I see. Let me put this to you now. There's supposed to be a hung parliament. I'm not sure you saw that coming when you first decided to contest on the ticket of the NDC in Kombongo, but now you have it here. Is it your view that the hung parliament has really served the people of Ghana well in terms of their expectations, that the old mantra that the majority will have their way and the minority will have their say will be a thing of the past?
In my view, I think the hung parliament has really served the people of Ghana very, very well.
You need to come closer to the microphone.
Okay. I think it's has done that very well. Because I didn't experience other parliaments. But what I have learned from colleagues is that previously, any bill, previously in other parliaments that the ruling government always had overwhelming majority or always had majority or just needed a few people to add up to get the majority to pass things. What I have learned from seniors is that it was always easy. They could always walk over. And even in terms of composition of committees. Now, because of the equal numbers we have, proportionally, we are almost 50-50, even in composition of committee. So that is the reason why we have been able to fight to push a number of things to happen. If you look at the way we stretched governing power on the issue of the e-levy, we have
But it was passed eventually. People are asking questions, for example, about
it was passed with some adjustment. You remember they wanted to do it.
Now there are no adjustments. Now, even if you send 10 pesos, you still will charge 11.
But what I am saying is that some of these things, the arguments we made, we fed into the policy, because there are a number of policies that our inputs have been recognized.
For example, you made a strong argument about who can become a minister and who cannot become a minister. There were 16 people that you earmarked and set aside and said you had questions about.
Yeah.
It turned out that when the vote was actually put, Madam Hawa Kumsin, for example, had the highest number of votes. We all watched the vetting. People generally thought by consensus that she was not fit for purpose for that role. But she had the highest number of votes in the hang parliament.
You know, some of these things transcend beyond members of, beyond partisan. Some of them are affected by constituencies where people are coming from. We have had issues where the members of parliament of the region where the minister is coming from, they are putting pressure and insisting, and some of them are even hauled to, before the paramount chiefs and all that. We have issues of tribe coming in. We have issues of other relations coming into play and all that. So these are the issues which affected the decision that we took in the appointment or in the confirmation of the ministers. So sometimes it is not just about we will decide as a party that we want to go this way, but it may turn out to be affected by some of the issues that I've mentioned.
In Parliament, for example, we're now talking about your side of the divide not being present in the House each time your colleague James Jachikwe of Asin North is in court because your side has asked for a nollie prosequi to be filed by the Attorney General to set him free. How long will this continue?
To be able to say, give timelines, I wouldn't be able to do, because some of the issues are not supposed to go public. Some of the decisions we take are supposed to be released on a timely basis and not just shared with the public.
But is that decision in the best interest of the public?
In the meantime, we feel that, James Quayson has been hunted unjustly. We feel that they are not being fair to James Quayson. We believe that the matter on which they are hunting him is not justifiable. That is our position, and that we believe that. And so you may see it as just minority fighting, but in a whole, we are trying to ensure that we protect the justice system of the entire country. And so it shouldn't just even be minority. We feel everybody, including the media, we should all support us to make sure that we free Justice Quayson, which we are of the firm belief.
Why don't you want the court case to run to its full length if you believe that he has a good case and that he will come out clean anyway?
The judiciary system, unfortunately, of late, we see it to be seriously political.
I don't understand.
What I'm saying is that we believe that our justice system today, we are of the perception that politics is creeping into the justice system.
But is perception enough to come to that conclusion?
That's the belief, the firm belief of.
But you are an academic, so perception is not enough to come to a conclusion.
But perception is also important in the process of judgment. It's important. Perception in the sense that I may not be able to. I'm using the word perception because I don't want to conclude.
Right.
But that is the perception of the public. And the perception of the public can be grounds to take matters up.
But you mentioned earlier to us that, look, because you are an academic, you are fortunate or privileged to have gotten into a ranking position in Parliament, even as a first-time a backbencher.
Yeah.
So don't you think that you should bring that same academic excellence and expertise and knowledge to the fore to say, okay, this is public perception, but empirically, this is what it is? Then we can sing along the same song, don't you think so?
No, what I am saying is that perception is important in every sphere, because you are using the word perception in the sense that it isn't that you don't believe that what you are talking or what you are referring to is happening, but you are using perception because there's no judgment. I mean there's no conclusive judgment on the matter. So even in research, when we are conducting research, we use the word perception.
That's right.
We sometimes use perception because you don't have empirical evidence of that. But then that is when you go and talk to one or two people. That is how they are feeling. And you cannot discount that particular feeling of the individual. And so I cannot say because an academic, that is if I feel that, he feels that, she feels that, everybody feels that, things are not going right. So that is where we are.
A leader on the other side, the majority side, Frank Anodompre, MP4 and Sawame Droidjeri, thinks that walking out, not being part of the plenary but attending committee meetings is childish. What do you say?
I think he's just being political, and he's speaking for the party. Maybe out of frustration because government business has come.
You think he's being frustrated?
Yeah, that's my perception, because I think that they have government business
right
to deal with, and because of our absence, it makes it difficult. So somehow they are beginning to get some to feel the heat, going through frustration, and that is actually the reason why we are not sitting in Parliament.
But is your side being childish?
We're never child. How can that is why I'm saying that he's being frustrated. I mean, he's speaking out of frustration. Okay. And sometimes when you are frustrated and you don't take your time, you begin to say things that tomorrow when they ask you, when they bring it before you, I mean, you wish you didn't even let that out. And so I wouldn't want to say that he is rather being child. I don't want to say that, but I want to say that that particular comment is out of frustration. That is what I would want to say.
I see. Now, your people in Kumbungu voted for you. They gave you another chance to represent them in 2024. Is that the case?
Yes, please.
Against Ras Mubarak, who has been in there for once and was defeated again. Question is, do you have the approval of your constituents to be staging this walkout, to be in court instead of being in Parliament?
I think my people feel that the justice must see the day of light. That is the feeling of my people. My people are of the view that James Quayson's case is not being handled properly. He's becoming a political scapegoat. That is the perception of my people. So any step we are taking to ensure that he sees justice, I mean, equally goes down well with my people. And so my people think that we must fight. And some of them, you'll be surprised, some of them are telling us that we are too cool. We are too cool on the other side.
Your constituents?
Yes, some of them are feeling that because of the things are not going well. The economy, we all know, is in shambles. My people who are largely farmers are going to struggle. This year in particular, there is no any intervention, agricultural intervention for the smallholder farmer. Majority constitutes my people. No single intervention. So they go to buy fertilizers, fertilizers in particular, at about a rate of about 500 Ghana cedi per bag.
Okay.
And so they are struggling. Livelihoods are very difficult for the good people of the Commonwealth. And then they feel that we must do more. We must do more to ensure that the people, the present government, doesn't have the peace to go inside. And they think that this particular strategy that we have taken is one of the steps that they felt will make things very difficult, and then or will make the government to wake up until we really should.
Do you think that the government will wake up? This will not be the first time we are staging a walkout.
Of course, but you can begin to see the utterances coming from people, including the likes of Adodom Pre, telling you that things are not going well. They are not comfortable with our action, which means the action is hitting them and definitely will yield something.
Your leadership was changed in Parliament.
Yeah.
If I ask you to compare the leadership then and the leadership now, what would you say?
I want to say that it will be too early a day. It will be too early a day to jump into that conclusion. They have just started. The previous leadership, they were there for a very long time,
right?
And they had a lot of experience. So definitely, in terms of performance, at short run, you cannot compare. It will not be fair to put them on the same, wavelength to compare, because they have been in the system for almost 6 good years. These people just started. They are not. I don't think they've done 6 months yet,
right?
And so it will be difficult to put in any comparison.
The economic hardships you spoke about.
Yeah,
we've seen the inflation figures, GDP, exchange rate, and all of that. Is biting your people. That's what you say.
Yeah.
Does it put pressure on you as member of parliament and into your pocket particularly?
A lot. When I was coming here, on daily basis, the number of calls I get, I can count. I can tell you that 95% of the calls that I get, they are asking for support.
And are you able to support them?
Where will I get it? Yeah, it's difficult. You just have to manage by having at least some soothing words.
You give them vibes. You give your constituents vibes.
Yeah, because out of that frustration, out of that difficulty, you cannot also, put petrol on, on fire. Yeah, I get it. You have to also find a way of, using words that will cool down the person.
But if you are discussing the economic situation with your friends on the other side, what do they say? I mean, you have friends on the other side.
I can tell you that they are equally feeling the heat. Even yesterday, I was interacting with one MP. He told me, look, I'm looking at how I will be able to deal my situation. I know this Ghana is gone. I'm MP. I'm telling you.
Oh, wow.
Yesterday.
He said Ghana is gone.
Ghana is gone.
The MP said Ghana is gone.
He's talking about
and he's still in Ghana.
Where has Ghana gone?
That he's looking at how he will be able to retain his seat.
You need to use the microphone for me, please, Honorable.
I'm telling you.
How he retain his seat.
Yeah, it's what is
for him. Ghana is gone.
It's now his headache. Things are not going well, and a number of them. It's not one person. It's not 2 persons. Everybody knows, unless of course you are pretending, because it is constituent. We are representing our constituents. These are even though our work we are supposed to do more, in Parliament, but I'm telling you that the MP has become, the livelihood broker of your people. You have to, support them. And you see, the unfortunately is that they are not voting the DCEs. So even though the DCE has a chunk of the common fund, but they don't see the DCE, they don't see themselves to have more right on the DCE as compared to you, the MP.
Do you think that the DCE should be voted for?
No, I'm for that one.
And on partisan lines?
Well, on partisan line is where I have question marks, because
what question marks?
Because if it happens that we vote along party lines, then it means we are likely to have both the MP, we are likely to have both MPs and the DCs
on one side.
Most likely across board.
And that'll be a winner takes all situation.
Winner takes all situation. It's going to be difficult. That check and balance will still need it. So we have to find a middle ground.
Why if you don't have the resources, why do the MPs promise so much?
In fact, I was just about to ask, is that why the constituents
high heavy
come to you?
The consensus
for me
is
here.
You know your percentage is 5%.
For me, if you ask me, and if you even if you speak to my constituents, they will tell you that I'm always truthful about it. I don't promise rules. I don't promise light.
What do you promise?
I tell them that, I will, I will speak for them. I'll make arguments to put pressure on government to come and do the rules. If I'm going to speak about rules or electricity or whatever, I will tell them that through question statements, I'll put pressure on government to come and do those things for them. And I promise them what I can do. For example, like, enhancing education, for example.
Okay, what have you done in that area?
Oh, I've done a lot.
Like
unfortunately, because in the area of education, for example, in less than 2.5 years, I have built 6 unique classrooms, 3 of them.
Okay. From your common fund?
Not from common fund, through NGOs, because I'm an academic and I used to work as a consultant for some of the NGOs. So I know how to access those funds. You have to do applications and go through processes. So through that, I have been able to do that. And then I have also renovated some schools. I've done some dual decks for those ones from common fund. Okay. I've organized extra classes from my common fund. I have supported the education, district education directorate to do monitoring and to conduct exams.
Right.
And so I have given funds to support students to pay their school fees. I've done about almost 240 something students, of an amount of about 2 point something billion old Ghana cities and all that. So
I like the way you put it, old Ghana cities.
yes,
billionize it.
Yeah,
but
to make you fat.
Are your people thinking that you are talking enough to push what you promised them in terms of making points for them? Because Ras was very loud, if you like, but you are very quiet. I didn't see you as someone who's actually pushing their cause.
You know what?
No, we don't know.
The people feel that I have raised more questions on the floor of Parliament than my predecessor. That's the feeling. If you're talking about what do you call it, Palestinian, whatever, you talk about some things that are not relevant to the constituency. They don't see you. Are you getting that? I will raise issues of, for example, this week.
Okay.
I'm asking the road minister a question regarding a very critical road in my constituency.
And you say Ras didn't do that. He was talking about
Palestine
and
Syria.
No, he was focusing on a more larger, at the macro level. I'm focusing on micro.
He was looking at the international stage.
He was a macro speaker.
I know so me, I am
a micro and meso.
I want to be concise. I want to be direct to the point and deal with issues. I've drilled about 60 boreholes. 60 boreholes in 2.5 years. My predecessor did 2 in 4 years. These 2.5 years, I've done 60.
Is it because of your connection to these NGOs? That is why you are able to do these things, or because you're able to put enough pressure on governments to be able to do these things?
I always ask myself, wherever I find myself, I ask myself, why am I here? Why am I here? I know that I have a responsibility. I have a responsibility to handle the constituency. They have elected me. I know that God will question me that at a point he handed over the constituency to me. I have to handle that. So the solution to the challenges of the people is a responsibility. It's a responsibility. And so I make sure that I go hunt for the resources and for the opportunities. Just last 2-3 weeks ago, I submitted an application to an NGO that I needed about 8 boreholes in my constituency.
What did they say?
Recently, they called me and told me they will give me 3.
That's about health.
And so what happens is that, and I don't submit and I go and sit down. I follow up.
Okay.
And so for me, I define what I want to do. and I try to work to achieve.
Your constituency is an agric constituency. It's an agrarian constituency.
Yeah.
Do you have one of those dams that was promised in your constituency?
We had a number of them, but I can assure you that, or I can tell you that those ones, were just, really just caused financial loss. I don't know why that discourse has vanished over time, because it's a serious matter. Because
one village, one dam.
Yes, none of them is serving the purpose for which they promised.
It's come back into the news, actually, Honorable. This issue of the dams being dried up
because
when they are needed.
The focus of doing that wasn't just about the water to drink of animals, but it's also to serve irrigation purposes.
That's right. In the dry season,
none of them does that. It's a failure.
There's not a single one working.
No.
Wow.
You have an MPhil in agric extension. Yeah. You also have BSc in agric technology.
I'm actually an agriculturist. I'm also a professor in agriculture extension.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Do you have a farm?
I do.
You farm?
I do. Even right now, we're working on some 10-acre, maize farm.
And what do you think of planting for food and jobs?
Planting for food and jobs. I don't know if I begin to talk about it. My minister may think that the meeting, we had a meeting yesterday actually. Some of these issues.
We want to know. You are the professional.
What I am knowing that planting for food and jobs is a failure. It's a failure. That is actually the reason why. That is actually the reason why. why.
What did you say?
That is actually the reason.
So what you know is that what? So what you know is that what?
Is in my take, is a failure.
Okay.
The reason is that what was it doing? Planting for food and jobs. I think the main focus was to one of the main things that it did, which was helping farmers, was the subsidy.
Right.
The subsidy. Now, this year we have zero subsidy.
Zero.
Yes, zero subsidy on agricultural inputs. Zero. And now, you see, the new minister was being smart. He just quickly wrote to end the planting for food and jobs. Say, it has come to an end. They are now going to look for phase 2. So in that case, if they are not able to provide any subsidy for
phase 2 hasn't started.
Phase 2,
they are going to now. They are not thinking about how to launch phase 2 of that. Meanwhile, this year we have zero
subsidies.
Zero subsidy for farmers. I mean, so really, cost of production is 100% by farmers. I mean, so it is really, really difficult for farmers. And I'm wondering, last year, even the output was poor because farmers could not even afford fertilizer. Some of us from the rural constituencies, if you drive through the constituencies and you see how yellowish, their maize farms and then, the guinea corn and all that, we're looking, you feel very sad.
Are you following the conversation in Russia and Ukraine, where the Russians are saying that they're not going to allow grains through the Black Sea?
Okay, that's one. That's what I don't. I'm not following that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So now this planting for food and jobs, because we see the Greek minister, the former Greek minister, crisscrossing going around, and now is a plantain tree is a special guest. I mean, when you look at those things, what runs through your mind?
Maybe he's using plantain tree because he was selling plantain at institutions.
I like the way you throw the punches.
He was like selling plantain. I realized at the point he was taking plantain.
Oh yes, there was some yam and a few other
some special markets and doing that. Maybe that is probably the main achievement. So he wants to stand by the achievement.
What do you want to remembered for? The lecturer, the head of department, the farmer.
To be honest with you, I get a lot of fulfillment in being an academic. Yesterday I left Parliament around 7 p.m. I was reading an MPhil thesis. I'm still supervising. Even I have 2 PhD theses sitting on my desk.
Right.
Then I have some MPhil theses. I still try to warm my brain. I see this to be a transit adventure for me. Politics.
I like that, a transit adventure.
Yes, for me, because I don't intend to stay long in Parliament. I want to go and do something else because I really want to be remembered in my achievement as an academic.
Okay, not in politics.
I'm doing politics.
Right.
I'm doing politics, so definitely I'm making impact in politics.
But you know that when you stay in politics for a longer period, then you mature, and then you become an institution. Like, what do you have become in academia?
When you have different professions, you definitely will have one you like best.
Right.
I can still make impact, in the society from academia. I can still even serve as a politician, even in academia. We have academics who are in boards, academic board chairs and all that, and then still contributing. Even academics being straight as ministers, not even as MPs and all that. So I know I make a difference because of my expertise.
Right.
I remember in one meeting, we had a gender committee meeting, and later on, when I went to the ministry, the chief director was telling me that, hey, this time then we have many people in the gender committee. Hey, I was so happy about your contribution, the policy, alternative that you provided and all that. I said, well, it was there I told him that I'm a teacher. Then he said, oh, okay, then I'm not surprised that all this is happening. Because sometimes you have a committee where people don't have the background, but they have to belong to committees.
Right.
Now you get to a committee, for example, agri committee. Then you have maybe about 5 people who have agri background.
Okay.
You are here, you have very thick agriculture policy document to peruse, criticize, provide policy alternatives.
Right.
If you don't have people with those background, how are you going to do that?
Is it because
you come to education, either of education, even though I'm not
an educationist?
No. I'm an educationist. I'm saying that I'm trying to say that I'm not. It is education committee is not one of my core committees.
Okay.
But I'm a friend to the committee because of my background.
That's right.
And so sometimes in the committee, there are issues relating to tertiary. That ultimately falls in line with my expertise. So I'll make inputs.
Adam, are you suggesting that going forward we should have a certain educational qualification attached to the requirement to go into parliament? Because there's no academic qualification.
Yes, there's no qualification. I've always told people that, look, for me, if I were to have my way, I would say the minimum qualification to be a member of parliament should be bachelor's. Right. I get in
the first degree.
And so I still feel that knowledge is very critical in parliament, whether you like it or not, because you are supposed to be making laws. You are supposed to peruse government policy, international agreements and all that. And you need knowledge to be able to do all this.
Yeah, of course.
And so I think the more knowledgeable a member of parliament is, I think the better for you to be able to make impact in the.
Would you accept an agri minister job?
If I'm given the opportunity to serve, why not? Me, I'm ready to serve any ministry that I'm handed over.
No, you are an agri person.
I'm an agri person.
We're talking about putting people in the places that they belong. Agri ministry. Would you take it?
Environment,
in this current state, would you take the agri ministry?
To be honest with you, I know Ghana agricultural system needs serious restructuring. I believe I have the capacity to handle that. That's one I can say. I have done a lot of publications in the area of agriculture. I've reviewed agriculture policies. I've followed over time how they've handled some of the agriculture policies and all that. If I have the opportunity, I know what to do. And you see, what we are also not looking at is that sometimes collaborations are critical. Using the relevant consultants can also do a lot, but sometimes people don't look at the value of using consultants to undertake certain activities. And so the person having the background expertise in agriculture, and I also have colleagues in that sphere, I definitely will be able to kind of collaborate with them to make sure that we put the Ghana agriculture system in its right place.
Your closing thoughts. What do you leave with us?
Oh, well, I think that generally Ghana, we are at the point where we all have to open our eyes because the things are not going right. There are a lot of challenges. People are having difficulties with their livelihoods. You know, the whole lot of perception about talking about the issue of justice system. You are saying I shouldn't say people are very percent, but that is the reality.
I didn't say you shouldn't say. I asked my questions.
So I think that Ghana really needs serious attention, and then we all have to set up and look. And we all have to wake up to see how we're going to deal with issues. I want to say that as a member of parliament, we are doing our best. Minority is doing our best, but we need the support of the media. We need the support of the public so that we can prosecute things in the interest of the entire country. And let me also extend my gratitude to my constituents. I mean, for deciding that I should continue to be their member of parliament. I will continue to serve them. They know I have performed miracle. I mean, in the constituency in less than 2.5 years. People have had the opportunity of serving the constituency 2 terms, but my 2.5 years stands out in terms of the interventions I have been able to do for the constituents. And I will continue to be loyal, continue to work to serve the constituency.
Hamza Adam, miracle worker. Oh my God. 41 minutes after 9 here on 3FM 92.7. We'll pick your calls at this point, but it's a birthday of a Superman. Here he is.
Zuma Nelson, there's not much we could say to Pat Caldell. He's absolutely shackled.
That's right. And I came in to knock him out in the first round. Man, that's what I make my mind. But because the people